Welcome back, friends. I've got a condensed couple hours of working around the house, cleaning up the car, making some sugar-free ice cream pops and stuff like that. So I hope you stick around and enjoy. Well, friends, we are back at it. I'm showing you what it really honestly looks like inside of our vehicle. It's high time for a good cleaning. You know, the other day I had driven to go see a friend and I had packed a bottle of milk for my little girl, not realizing the lid wasn't on the container right, and I had my backpack sitting on the floor. Thankfully, it was on that rubber rug, and so the milk spilled out. It was like good 30-minute drive, and I didn't realize it until we got there, and it was like, oh no. So anyways, there was plenty of things to clean up. After I emptied everything out, then I was able to start vacuuming. Thankfully, it wasn't too bad, the majority of the car. There were some areas where things had collected, but I pulled out this vacuum because I had pulled out the shop vac first, but it really wasn't doing the best job. I wasn't getting the section I needed. I just probably wasn't using the right attachment, so then pulled this one out and it got the job done. You want to know something I think that's cool? When I went outside to clean the vehicle, I had just put the kids down for naps, and I was not sure I'd be able to finish it before they all woke up. So at one point I went into the house to get the little baby monitor screen, and I brought it out with me, and I just kind of kept checking an eye on it, kept looking. As I turned the vacuum off, I'd listen and be like, are they still asleep? Are they still asleep? Because lately my little 10-month-old, she only sleeps for like 30 minutes in the afternoons. Well, she does usually take a second nap later in the day, but she just has a short nap in the early afternoon. And so I was like, she's gonna wake up, she's gonna wake up. And I was kind of praying like, God, please keep her asleep, please keep her asleep, just so I can finish this. If she had woken up, I'd just bring her out and set her somewhere where she couldn't get into trouble so I could finish it. But I was like, there's no guarantee she's gonna stay asleep. And it was really neat, you guys. It wasn't until I was totally done in the car seats that all of a sudden she woke up. Like literally, I barely finished everything before she woke up. So I'm like, I think God did that. That was kind of neat. I like to clean the vehicle out every once in a while, but recently we had moved one of the car seats and we're like, what is this on the seat? It was disgusting. So it was like, oh, okay, we really need to get in there and really do a good wipe down. I guess the experts say you shouldn't eat when you're in the car, at least when you have kids. You shouldn't let your kids eat in the car, but we do let them eat, you know, sometimes we have to drive a ways, different places, and oftentimes it corresponds with like meal times, and so it's like, yeah, it's easier just to give them a cheese stick or something like that than to try to stop and feed them. I don't know, maybe there's some people who won't do it, but we try to keep things as mess-free as possible, as much as you can with little kids, but there's always things that fall to the ground or things that they decide they don't want anymore. For those of you guys that are homemakers or you live at home, you help out Are there podcasts or books that you've listened to recently that have really encouraged you in terms of just the value of what you're doing? I know the other day I was listening to a podcast by Revive Our Hearts, and they had the two ladies on behind Risen Motherhood. And that was really, really encouraging and uplifting. Just a reminder that no matter what you're doing, even as a homemaker, you can do it for the glory of God, and it's important. Even though you're not getting praised, you're not getting awards, you're not getting recognition or maybe monetary value, but just the role of being a homemaker, how it's something that we don't need to take for granted or just downplay as though it's less valuable than a public career or something like that. There was another one I listened to by Elizabeth Elliot, and she was just also just reminding her listeners about just the importance of a homemaker. And it kind of went hand in hand with the Revive Our Hearts one. So maybe I'll see if I can't leave those podcast links in the description. But if you've listened to stuff or read stuff recently that you found really encouraging, let me know. I'd love to hear it. To clean the seats, I just used some of my Castile soap multi-purpose spray that I made up in one of the more recent videos. You just do a couple tablespoons of Castile soap for your container of water and just mix it up, and that worked really good. And obviously, it's not just the kids that make a mess. Sometimes we can be pretty messy ourselves too. There was just a lot of dust on the front of the car, and just overall it needed a good cleaning. had finished with the vehicle itself, with the interior, then I moved on to the floor mats. Actually, funny story, I bought these before I was married when I had a vehicle, and I'd gone across to Canada and I went to one of their junkyards, and I was looking for a specific part for something else, but I came across these in one of the vehicles and I got a set of 4 of them for like $40. It was really nice. I have no idea what happened to the other 2. Honestly, I don't know where they went, but at least we have the front ones, which it's nice for, I don't know, just if you spill stuff in the front. Yeah, I'm the kind of person to do that. It makes it a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier to clean up after just having the rubber mat. Or in the wintertime, if you go out and there's snow and stuff, then you don't get mud or wet snow all over your floor and everything. Anyone else have car seats that look like this? I think Squishy had dropped her milk at one point, and so there was milk in the base of her car seat, and then of course milk in the fabric of her car seat. So it was like, okay, let's get that cleaned up. And then the turkey's car seat, yeah, he just had lots of crumbs and stuff from snacks and things like that. We've had some really, really beautiful days. Of course, most of the days here in the desert are just beautiful in general because the sun's almost always shining. Actually, the evening that I cleaned out the car, we got a pretty bad storm, a summer storm that rolled through. And I was so glad I had done everything I did because the next couple days it kept raining off and on. So it wouldn't have been near as nice to clean out the vehicle with the rain. I did keep going inside to get some water and stuff because it was super, super hot. One thing I love about the desert is the weather, how hot it gets, but there's very little humidity, and so you can be sweating and not really know it, so you have to really, really watch out for heat stroke. So I was going inside, getting a drink of water, and coming back out, and you'll see by the end of this, my face is quite red because of being outside in the sun, but it felt good at the same time. I just can't be out for a crazy long time because then I'll get heat stroke or something, and that is not fun. Hey guys! So next thing on the agenda is to make some chunky pops. The recipe comes from this Originals from Healthy Mama cookbook, and chunky cream pops is what it's called. Apparently it's a really simple, easy recipe, and it's very warm and hot outside, and so I want to get it in the freezer so we can have it for snack. I'll be sure to link the recipe in the description box, so that's where you can find a copy of that. That's what I'm going to make right now. I started out by mixing up the skinny chocolate. That's literally just coconut oil, cocoa powder, and your sweetener. I used black cocoa because I'm almost out of cocoa powder, and it gives it more of an Oreo taste almost. Anyways, that stuff was really, really, really good. Now I made the skinny chocolate. I just warmed it up just enough to dissolve the coconut oil, to melt coconut oil. I didn't actually want to get it really hot because that's not the best. You don't want to get coconut oil really hot. That's pretty bad for it, I guess. So just kind of keep it at a low temperature, just enough to get it to melt. I might use some sugar granules from the super sweet, but that's okay. I'm gonna pour in here because I want it to be a bit thicker and to freeze faster. So we'll just do it this way. I've tried to get back into making some of these sweeter desserts again because as of late, I found myself falling into a rut where I wouldn't say I was craving junk food, but I would get fixated on it, and then that's all I wanted to eat just because I saw somebody eating it, or I had this random image go through my head, or I would go to the store and you'd see someone with like chips in their cart, and suddenly that was all I wanted to eat. Even if my husband had snacks here at the house, usually that doesn't bother me. But there were certain things where I was just like, I felt like I couldn't keep my hands off of it. I just really wanted to give in. And I actually had a friend from church and I was like, hey, can you keep me accountable? Because I know this food is not nourishing, but I want to eat it so bad. And so literally all she's had to do is ask a couple times, how's it going? Do you have a verse or something you're using as your weapon when you want to indulge in that junk food and stuff? So anyways, since I asked her to keep me accountable, I have had the amount of like desires to eat that stuff has almost completely disappeared, and it's kind of cool. She probably is like, what's wrong with you? There's nothing even wrong because you're not eating the stuff, or you're not even wanting to. But it's just the fact that knowing that someone is going to ask me makes just a tremendous difference. So anyways, I was motivated to make this dessert because I was like, I want to have some good options on hand. And it has been really nice to have these. They don't freeze as hard as ice cream, I found. And so usually I can eat them within a couple minutes of them coming out of the freezer. Whereas the ice cream that I like to make, it usually takes a good while for it to actually get to the point where you could, get pieces of it. But this stuff was really good. It's really fun with the crunch from the peanut butter and then the chocolate pieces and stuff. Oh, it's very, 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 very delicious. I had somebody comment on one of my YouTube shorts about what's the point of eating healthy? Just eat whatever you feel like eating. Your baby will be fine. Her babies were fine. And I'm like, that's not the point of it. My goal is I want to nourish the baby and I want to nourish myself. And if I'm lacking nutrients or stuff, there's going to be things that come along with that. I'm not going to feel as good. And it's more than just indulging in what I want. There's more the mindset of taking care of myself and setting that example for my kids. I know I don't feel as good when I eat sugar. I will get a sugar high and then a sugar crash, and that is seriously no fun. Plus, I get satisfaction out of knowing that I'm making good food choices. It's more than just, trying to be like, I'm just trying to have the image of being sugar-free and stuff. No, I'm doing this because I want to be as healthy as I can, because I know that's going to make a difference in my health and in with my kids, and I want them to have good food eating habits and stuff like that. So there's so much more to it than just, than just eating for the moment and eating for what feels good right now. I hope that makes sense. I didn't really think that one through ahead of time, but it's just someone that's kind of been on the back of my mind. I was reminded recently about how I needed to clean the blinds. They weren't really that bad. Some of them just had specks from flies that would land on them, or maybe food that would get slung on them from the kids, like a spot of like tomato sauce or something like that. And also just dust, So I was like, today today's a good day just to go ahead and wipe down the blinds. I was like, I don't know what else I'm gonna do. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, there's always stuff to do when you stop and think about it. And if we're being honest here, I only got to 2 out of the 5 blinds or 6 blinds that I had hoped to do, because other things came up. I can't remember what all happened, but it was one of those days where it was kind of random. My husband, it was a Saturday, so my husband was home doing projects, and there were other people around the house, so it was plus, add in the kid factor, so it wasn't like one of those days where I could pretty much make my own routine and do stuff. But that was okay. I still felt like it was a good full day and I got a lot accomplished, so I was very grateful for that. Another thing I had been meaning to do for some time was to give the fridge a wipe down. I was a bit surprised. It wasn't as bad as I was expecting. I can't remember the last time I cleaned it. I feel like that should be the name of my YouTube channel. Can't remember the last time I cleaned it. But anyways, it thankfully wasn't too bad. I just pulled everything out and then started wiping the shelves down and basically going through the food. For the most part, everything was good. A day or two earlier, I had discovered I had forgotten some vegetables in the bottom of the fridge, so that was kind of gross. But normally, I do a pretty good job of going through stuff, using it up. I know people like to make jokes about spinach, like you buy a box of spinach and you get one bite out of it before you throw the rest of it away. Usually I'm able to use it up in time. It's usually other stuff that maybe I'll put leftovers in the fridge and then forget about it. It's more my tendency. But like I said, yeah, it wasn't in too bad shape. So we have this thing, because of where the fridge is positioned, you cannot get both of the fruit drawers out. So the one is permanently in there for now unless we move the fridge. And so I usually just have to try to swipe underneath it with the cloth to clean out stuff, and then I can't take it out to clean it. So I just try to work with it. I know, yeah, it's not a fancy fridge by any means, but it does the job, it does the trick, it keeps our food cold, and so because of that, we're keeping it in service. One thing not many people might know about me, but it's that I really, really enjoy mowing. I get great satisfaction out of having a freshly mowed lawn. I guess that just goes to show I'm not really from the desert. I wasn't raised in the desert, given by the fact that's one of my favorite things. But my brother-in-law had been over and he had helped mow the lawn because I was like, I'm just not getting stuff done. So he took care of that, and so I was able to get the sprinklers set up and ready to go for that evening. I like to get them going, get them lined up. That's another thing I get great satisfaction from, is getting the sprinklers going and watering the grass. Then it was time to get back inside and do a quick mop on the floor. Like I said, there was a storm that rolled in later on this day, and it was actually really, really, really nice to know that the floors were clean And as we're inside the house with the the windows are shut, the power actually went out, so it was very, very dark outside. And thankfully it was in the evening after the kids were in bed, so we didn't have any issues with like supper or stuff like that. And we used the background sound, an extra phone we have for their sound machine, so they didn't have the power. The power didn't affect the sound machine, which that's a huge thing. If you're a new parent and you use a sound machine that's either electric or depends on Wi-Fi, yeah, that I can remember it was so frustrating when the power would go out and your kids would wake up and it was like, oh. So I'm so glad we figured out. I think somebody showed on like a YouTube short or something like that. Anyhow, highly recommend you check that out if you use an iPhone. And then lastly, I finished up by emptying out the dishwasher, and I feel like there were a few other things I did, but that's all I have on video. So I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me for a bit, the equivalent of a couple hours. And I'll see you guys next week with another video. Take care.